Hi everyone, welcome back to another tutorial. Today I'm going to be drawing this red panda, and I'm going to start just by taking away the graphite around the eyes with a kneadable eraser, just so it doesn't show through the colour pencil when we get into that stage. You can see it's a lot lighter now. And I'm just going to be going in with my dark sepia polychromos pencil just to map out the darkest parts of the eyes. So this is the outline. There's a little bit of darkness in the pupil, but it's really just important to go in with a light hand to begin with and not start necessarily with the black, which, you know, you see a colour, you see it's black and it's easy to pick up that pencil, but it's a lot more difficult to rub it out. So it's important that you just go in with a light hand, and you'll find that the dark sepia will come up if you do make a little bit of a mistake, if it's lightly laid down. I'm just mapping out the coloured area of the eye, the iris, but there's quite a bright highlight in the top part. So the eye is really split into two different sections. There's the highlight at the top and then the coloured section of the iris at the bottom. So I'm just going in with a burnt sienna pencil, polychromos, and also the caput mortem, because the panda's eye was actually quite a reddy colour. So I'm just using really tiny circular movements just to lay down that pigment. I'm smoothing out with a Caran d'Ache luminance pencil, and then going in with another red, the Caran d'Ache, just making sure that I'm flattening the tooth of the paper a little bit so the graininess isn't showing through, which is most important. And also just getting those layers of pigment down to build up through to create a realistic look, and we want that kind of spherical look of the eye as well. It's really important that we build up the layers so it doesn't look flat. If we just lay down one block colour, it could end up looking quite flat, and we want this to look like it's spherical. So again, going in with the Caran d'Ache, I'm using a mixture of the Caran d'Ache luminance and the Faber-Castell polychromos. Again, you can see I'm going in with a really light hand and small circular motions to build up that red. I've blended out with the Caran d'Ache the kind of light cream colour, so now we need to go in with a little bit more pigment. And this is the Venetian red. Lots of different reds and oranges in this section of the eye, so it's just important that we go in with those, a terracotta colour too. Just building that up slowly. You can see I'm leaving the top section of the eye completely clear for now. It's actually not white, but we want to make sure that we don't accidentally get some pigment into that area, which would cloud it and stop it from looking or giving it that realistic look. So very small movements. Going in with the burnt sienna again, darkening up the red, especially towards the edges. And that's what gives it the 3D look, so it kind of pops out. Now just darkening up with the with a black actually, so you can see I've added quite a few layers to begin with before I've even attempted to go in with the black. But the darkest parts of the outline of the eye is really dark, so it's important that we get our darks as dark as they need to be and leave our highlights as light as they need to be to create that kind of realistic tonal range. Mapping out the shape of the tear duct. None of it's particularly uniform, so it's really important that you just watch that and have a look at the reference photo closely. There you go, outlining that. You can see the definition then between the highlight and the edge of the eye. Really starts to make it look a bit more 3D and stand out some more. So now into the highlight, I'm using the cold greys of the polychromos. And there's some reflection of the sky in the eye, so I'm just mapping that out too. But just tiny pencil movements, so I'm not kind of going in too heavy-handed. I'm going in with really tiny little dots, and I'm mapping out the pupil. And you're going to see that this starts to bring the eye to life a little bit. A little bit of blue, this just really makes it pop, gives it a kind of shiny look. The sky is reflected, but look, you see I'm just adding tiny little dots, making sure I'm not going in too heavy-handed, blending out with a white Caran d'Ache Luminance pencil. We want a really smooth look, no graininess of the paper. I'm using the Fabriano Artistico paper, the hot pressed watercolour paper. It is two-sided, there is like a linen-y side, that's all I can describe it as. It's quite liney, and then there's a smoother side which I tend to prefer. But it really does take layers really well. It's not cheap, it's one of the most expensive papers, but if you're doing a really nice piece that you're hoping to sell, or it's a pet portrait commission for somebody, then this paper is fantastic. Going in with the black again, just mapping out that clear section between the eye and the red of the fur. Just darkening up. You see I'm going in layers, so I'm not putting down just one hard layer of black. I'm not burnishing, which means pushing down and flattening the tooth completely. I'm going in with a light hand, and then that enables me to build up the layers, because black can look quite flat. And it just means that if I put black down, then I can add another colour over the top of the black, just so it looks a little bit more kind of well-rounded, more realistic, and more 3D. Going in with a little bit of blue again, you see I'm laying that over the black, and that's what I mean by layering it up. Just filling in that section between the eyeball and the fur. That's quite textured, it's certainly not uniform. Just looking at the reference photo and not drawing what I think I see, but actually really observing that reference photo and drawing what you can see. Again, how many layers is that? A lot, you know, building them up. Not much life left in this black. You tend to find that you do use these colours quite a lot. Building it up, darkening it up, adding some little kind of ridges and bumps within that section. Darkening up the shadows and into that darkest part where the shadows are in the tear duct area. That corner of the eye is going to be really dark. You see I'm really taking care, I'm going slowly, I'm not rushing it at all. Taking my time. Another layer on the pupil, darkening that up some more. It's quite a funny shaped pupil, that one. It's just a line, and a lot of it's got lost in the highlight and in the iris, the kind of dark reds down below. So just a little line just to give an impression of the pupil. A little more black along that line. This is a slow process, it's just about building it up. Coloured pencils are notoriously slow. Darkening up the red some more, adding some grey, and then moving on to the other eye. Again, using that same technique, going in with the dark sepia to begin with, just outlining the darkest parts of the eye. It's a little bit of a funny angle, this one. It's three-quarter look, three-quarter portrait, so you're not going to see as much of the eye, and just making sure that you get the shadows in the right place so it looks like it's at the right angle. Again, just following the reference photo. Darkening up the shadows at the bottom of the eye. Going in with those exact same colours, the Venetian red, which is a kind of pinky red. Building up that lower section of the red section of the iris. Going with the burnt siennas. Small circular movements again, smoothing out gradually the tooth of the paper, but layer by layer, so you can build up the lovely colour tones in the eye. Blending out with the Caran d'Ache Luminance. I think this is the ochre. So it's not white, it's not going to completely kind of wash out the colours that you've put down, but it is going to blend them together nicely. Just mapping out the pupil of the eye with the black. Again, you can see it's such a soft hand. I'm not going in, I'm not pushing too hard, I'm not burnishing the paper. Going in with the silver greys of the luminance, building up the shadows. Got the caput mortem, and the burnt sienna. It's starting to take shape. It's a slow process. Just have faith in the method that it will come together. Darkening up the outline again. And just adding all of those little bumps and ridges to make sure that it looks realistic. You can see it's starting to come together now. Building up, adding the greys to the highlight. I think that's the Payne's grey, and then into the black. Black of the pupil, the darkest part. This section of the eye is a lot smaller than the other one, so you're trying to get a lot of detail into a tiny space. That Venetian red again, just adding a little bit of orange, a bit of terracotta. And going in with the greys as well, just where the fur starts to meet the eye, just adding those small little lines so that it can blend in nicely once you start the fur. They don't look just stuck on. So there's the eyes just about finished. I'm going to be continuing the rest of the Red Panda, and that will be coming soon in a tutorial. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, it'd be great if you could like and subscribe and share this video with your friends. The real-time version is also going to be on Patreon, so having a look at Samantha Clift art over there, and I look forward to seeing you next time.